My name is Prudence Holman, and I am coming to you in hopes for your alliance in requesting an amendment on price controls. As a woman, a wife, and a mother of four, life is exceptionally hard being on the fringes of the city, in more particular, the Lower East Side where many are impoverished. My family, like many in this time, borrowed heavily just to be able to afford basic goods in the 60s and 70s of the great century 1700. And because of this, we are all heavily stricken with debt. One would speak on how being a farmer, we would be more than capable of having a substantial source of income depending on seasonal yields, but that is simply not the case. When it comes to the working class, the economy has not proven fruitful when it comes to farming and living a life of sustenance. And because of this, trade has declined in mine and my husband's field of work. Crop yields are declining as well, and I cannot help but to have little faith in what the future may hold. If I'm being completely honest, the British and their taxes are in fact to blame, as well as malicious New York merchants. With political and domestic upheaval alongside boycotts, who else is to criticize? And because of the malpractice of the British merchants, my family will suffer alongside many others, even though I am undoubtedly a clever woman who knows how to bargain. I have been unsuccessful in avoiding the currency of book credits, which is a system in which the merchants note how much you owe, however much, for the goods you purchased in their book account. If you were unaware, we are all conscious of how malicious the New York merchants are in the pricings and public dealings with the people. However, the incurring book credits does not directly coincide with being negligent with money. This is just what has to be done in order to survive nowadays due to British monopoly and rule. I'm careful in observing debts I have made occurred through the book credit system in order to avoid court reckonings. However, being frugal can only get a family of 6 so far in regards to their needs and leaves us hungry almost every night, and with the rise of boycotts, what we can afford is drastically limited. The rising cost of every good is something to fear, rightfully so, and not only because of how my trade seems to be getting less and less in the markets nowadays, but also because of the British hold over everything and everyone, while also using merchants to constrict prices and what we have access to buy. As John Locke states in his second treatise of government, the good of the people is the supreme good. How are starving families and struggling family businesses for the better good? Locke also goes on to mention how the fruits of one's labor are one's own and those who worked for it. How is this being honored through the outrageous taxes put in place to systemically hinder the growth of our nation? As a woman, what I can indeed fight for in favor of the maturation of this great nation is to advocate for the controlling of price influxes here at home and in our markets. This would be the least form of compensation for our sufferings. How are the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer? And with all this being said, let this be my formal declaration to request the Provincial Congress of New York. To the honorable members of the Provincial Congress of New York, the petition of I, Prudence Holman, and hopefully many others of the County of New York most humbly show that your petitioners during this time of economic upheaval and non-importation are suffering grievously from the scarcity of goods and the outright outrageous prices being demanded by exorbitant merchants, which prices the necessities of life being threatened to render us destitute in their efforts to build a monopoly and monetary empire at the price of our own livelihoods. And because so, we are sick, poor, and dying. If we so graciously applaud the works of John Locke, how come we do not honor his ideal of the greater good, or the respect of personal property? The controlling of prices would honor those beliefs in that we would be anointed rightfully the fruit of our work and our property and be able to quite simply survive in a country that wants us to thrive and contribute. I and our future petitioners therefore humbly pray that the Congress fix and freeze the prices in New York at the level of April 1st, 1775, and that a committee of inspection, including the signatories of this petition, be empowered to investigate, identify, and publicize violators for these price controls as enemies of the people. Endorsed by yours truly, Prudence Holman. Please join the fight for our liberty and growth, and feel more than free to reach out to me with necessary questions.